Hey everyone, welcome to Lecture 2 of Logo Design, Let the Type Do the Talking. Hopefully you guys have had some fun sketching and you're ready to move to Illustrator. What I'm going to do today is focus on a few of those examples that I put in the iceberg. Again, that link can be found in the resources section of the syllabus. But what I'm going to do is just walk through those examples and show you how I went from sketch to logo. Let's go ahead and get started. The first option that I'm going to discuss is Wiley Brewing Company, and again, this is just the sketch that I had drawn up, and this is the final version. So I'm just going to walk through the process of taking this sketch and getting it to look like this. I'm not going to focus on the textured, gritty part of it today, just because I don't want there to. I just don't want to cloud what we're trying to do, because it's important to get the logo correct before we go in and kind of schnazz it up with texture and grit, and it's something that's definitely not necessary too for every logo. It's just if it's appropriate for the audience, then yes. But what I'll do is do a third lecture, which will focus on some finishing techniques and texture to just help you guys be able to achieve this look if that's something that you want to do. So starting with the sketch, I'm going to go ahead and select this, and I'm going to lock it just because I don't like clicking on it by accident and dragging it around. So that way it keeps it there, and I'm not going to drag it and mess up what I'm trying to do. What we're going to do is grab the pen tool right here, or you can hit P to get to it. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to switch this from fill to stroke. If you just hit those little arrows, it will swap it over to the stroke for you. And since this is a black sketch, I want to change the color from black, just so that I can see what I'm doing. Typically, like just high contrast, bright pink is my go-to. But what I'm going to do is just trace around this outer shape. And if you guys aren't comfortable with the pen tool, I would recommend going back to some of those links that I posted in the syllabus and watching some beginning introductions to Illustrator, just to kind of familiarize yourself with this. But I'll just kind of give us a brief walkthrough on it. It's a mathematical system of drawing. You plot points and click and drag to draw your curves. So it can be tricky if you haven't used it before, but I'm assuming the majority of you are going to be pretty comfortable with it. And if you're not, just spend some time using it. It will definitely come more naturally as you spend more time doing it. So if you hold, so I plotted my first point, and I'm starting in the center because I like to draw half of it, and then what I'll do is copy and paste and reverse it, and then merge the shapes. That way I know it's 100% symmetrical. So I start in the center. If you hold shift and click out here to the center of this, it will draw a straight line for you. Just because my sketch isn't straight, that's something you want to focus on and make sure that you're keeping it all straight. So no curve there. There is a curve, but what I'll do is end up using the stroke palette and throwing curved edges on it. And that's a nice way just to make sure that your curves are really sharp and really clean. But with this one, what I'm going to do is actually draw this curve, just because the stroke palette isn't going to be able to match that quite like I want. But I'm going to click just a little bit above, not the center, because I'm going to draw a handle here and then here, and it's going to help me draw that curve. So if you hold shift again, plot your point, but then draw a handle down just a little bit, and then come over here again, click, and you see how that's helping me make that curve. And you just gonna want to align it so that this handle is just directly in line with the way that my shape is looking. And if it's a little wonky, you can always go back to it and adjust, but that looks pretty good right there. So I'm going to let go, and then I'm going to come down here and see I have my snap to guides on, and you can get there by going to view. Smart guides is what I was talking about. Make sure that's clicked if you like it or not. I enjoy it. I like it because it will tell me when I'm lined up with another point. So that way I know I'm centered with that. I'm going to go ahead and plot that point. And then I'm going to come up here and just close the shape off. So then I can come back in here by zooming in and inspect this curve and see how it looks. And I feel like it looks pretty good. So, you know, if it was, see how that's off just slightly, I can go ahead and pull that handle up. Oh, not like that. Pull that handle up to match that line, and that's gonna just ensure that the curve is just drawn a little bit more appropriately. But yeah, like that's something where you can always come back and adjust it. So say I had it like that and it kind of bulged out, I can just grab this handle and I can just drag it in and make sure that my curve is going to look good. So what I'm going to do now is take this shape, I'm going to copy and paste it, or you can hold shift, select it again, hold shift, struggling. So, alright, I just had the command wrong. So you're going to grab it and you're going to hold shift and option on a Mac and see how the two little arrows pop up. You have a black and a white arrow where your cursor is. That means it's going to duplicate what you're dragging. So if you unclick it, you're gonna have just a direct copy of that. So what I'm going to do from there is go, while it's still selected, go to Object, Transform, and do Reflect. And you're just going to want to hit Preview, and you can see what it looks like, and it's going to flip it around just how I want it to. So that's just going to be on your vertical axis, and go ahead and hit OK. And what you can do to ensure that you get this properly placed together is come down here and just hover your mouse over this anchor point. And if you just click that and place it directly on top of the other one, it will say intersect for you. And you can go ahead and select both of these now. Come over here to your Pathfinder palette, and if you don't have it out, you can go to Window and click Pathfinder, and then that will bring up this palette for you. And what you want to do when you have both of them selected is go ahead and do Unite, and that's going to make that one shape for you. So you can see that you know, the geometry is correct on what I've drawn in my sketch. So that gives us that outline shape. So let's go ahead and get these curves to match kind of the drawing. And again, come to the stroke palette, and you can come over here and just beef up the stroke for one. Get it so that it's relatively close. I don't think I want it. See over here, it's not quite as thick as what I had drawn, but if you click here, do a round cap and a round joint, that's going to go ahead and round those edges for us, and same down here, whereas before that has a sharp edge down there. We don't want that. So that's the outer shape. And what I typically do is when I start building out the letter forms now is I'm going to make a copy of this and just keep it, because you see here I have this outer shape, and versus having to go back and draw that outer shape, I can keep a copy of it and always adjust it, extend it down to be the outer shape. So like you could take your direct select tool, select all these bottom anchors, not the top ones, but then you can click those and drag them down, and see we already have our bigger shape. So I like to keep things around, don't delete or don't work from just a direct copy and then end up having to change it later. So that's just good practice to always kind of hang on to an extra copy of things. At least I like to work that way. So what I did from there is I just looked through my type library and tried to come up with a nice typeface that would be appropriate for this brand. And what I ended up settling on was, not settling sounds bad because I really like the type that I ended up with, but what I ended up deciding to use was Milwaukee. Oh, and you come over here, sorry, just to make sure I'm not stepping over anyone or stepping past anything. To get your type tool, you hit T, or come here and find the little T over on the side and just click, and it will bring your cursor up for you. And then you go to your type palette over here, type in what typeface that you want to use, and that's Milwaukee. And I typed out Wiley. Oh. So we got some work to do because that looks nothing like this, and in order to get it there, we have to do some manipulation, and this is where it gets fun. This is the fun part. It can be a little bit tricky at times, but don't have any fear, because with Illustrator you can just change things. You can tweak stuff. You can redraw things, so we can ultimately make our type fit the shapes that we want them to fit. So I'm going to go ahead and place this in the center, and right now, see, this is it's still type. It's not object based. Where this is a right now it's a path, but it can be an object really easily by going up here to Object, go to Path, and do Outline Stroke. So see, that took away the stroke, and now we have an actual shape. So what we want to do is turn our type into an object as well, so that we can manipulate it and drag around points and stretch the type so that it fits the shape. So you do that by going to Type, Create Outlines, and if you do that, see, it becomes an object. Now you have all those little points and anchors on there. So now we can start manipulating this type to fill the shape. So I'm going to go ahead and just make it bigger, and if you click and drag, so you can skew this, and you don't want to do that because that just looks like it was messed up. It looks bad. See how it's thinner here and super wide at the bottom? It just doesn't look correct. So I'm going to step back, and Command Z will step back for you guys. If you do something and you realize you don't like it, just Command Z will fix that for you. You can step back in time. But if you drag this corner out, hold Shift while you do it. If you hold Shift and Option, it will drag from the center, so it will make it versus having to do this and then click and drag it back. Do it from the center. Get it so that it's in a really good place where it's centered. And you will see that this L isn't perfectly centered, and we end up wanting that to be our centerpiece. So we have to do some adjusting to get it there, but that is not a problem. What I would do is, at this point, from your outer shape, if you hit Command R, it will bring up rulers for you. If you click out in that ruler, it will draw a guide out for you. And so I'm going to go ahead and just place a guide in the center of the shape. If those aren't displaying, if you can't see your guides, you can go to View Guides, Hide Guides, that will take it away, or Show Guides if they're not up for you. So and you can also unlock those from the same menu. I like to keep them locked, otherwise I'll click them and drag them out. They'll end up getting grouped with an object, and I don't like that, so I like to keep those locked. But now that we have the center of our shape, we know that this L needs to be aligned there so that we can drag it down to have it fit on this angle. So what I'm going to do is, you see I click on the L, it's all grouped together. If you go to Object, Ungroup, right here, click that, they are no longer going to be grouped. So we know we can take this and have it be pretty dang close to center there. And then I'm just going to slide this out of the way so that I can drag the bottom of the L down to here. And what I like to do is just hit A, come over here to your direct selection tool, directly under your selection tool, and I'm going to just click and drag the lower portion of this letter, and you see it will only select those anchor points. It leaves the top two unselected, so when I move these, it's not going to mess with these unselected ones. So I'm going to just click one of them, hold Shift so that it again stays straight down, and I'm just going to put it right there for now. We're going to end up having to redraw this a bit so that it fits that shape, but just to get it out of the way for now, I'm going to leave it right there. And so now the nice thing about this is you don't have that L sticking out, so we can kind of space these out so that they Whoops, I drag that down on accident, so that we can get even spacing. That's one thing you always have to worry about with letters is your spacing, and it's called kerning, and you just want to make sure that it's even. And right now you can tell this isn't very even. We have a wider space here than we do here. But the nice thing about adjusting these letters is we can make them wider, we can make them skinnier just to make it fit. So the I, we can't do much with it. You can see up here in brewing, I ended up putting little serifs on this so that this would fill more space. And so those are things that you can do to help it fill more space, but you can see on this I didn't do that. So what I'm going to do is actually make this W a little bit wider to help fill some of this space that the I is leaving us with. So again, take your direct selection tool, and you have to be careful because you see all these points. If you accidentally grab this one, it's gonna mess this curve up for you. But if you just drag down from the center of that and get all the points to the right, you can scoot it over. And the default arrow nudge movement is a point, I think, in Illustrator. But if you hit Shift and hit the right arrow, it's going to move it. I think it's going to be 10 points. So it just, instead of doing like counting it out 10 times, just hit Shift and the arrow, and it's going to widen that out for you. And I would do the same here just so that we keep it balanced. Grab these left side points and hit Shift and the arrow and make that wider. So again, just we want to keep same space in between this outer shape and our Y. So I'm just going to nudge these over until it starts to look similar. This looks like it could still be a little bit wider. We have quite a bit of space, so I'm going to go ahead and just make this a little bit wider. Not quite that wide, but just kind of, nudge them around until it's even, just to make sure you're even on both sides. But you can just continue to play around with these to get them close. And yeah, I'm gonna make the E a little bit longer too. Just looking back at what I did, it actually I don't know, maybe I didn't change that too much. So I might leave that. I might make it just a little bit wider. Maybe make this Y just a little bit wider too. And so grab these 2 points. We don't want to grab this one, but if you grab this point, and you can just hold Shift and select whatever points you want. So see, I missed this one. I'm going to hold Shift, come back and click that point, and that, those two, and then I can drag those out as well just to widen it up a little bit. And again, just do the same on both sides. So that looks pretty decent. Actually, I might bring these in just a touch, and then there, we're not too bad there. And this is something you guys can play around with. I don't want to waste too much time on trying to get this perfect, but I just want to demonstrate, just the way to move letters. So we want this space and the space between this line right here and the bottom of the letter to be the same. So I'm going to just draw a guide. I'm going to start here at the top and just drag it down to where that letter starts, and we're going to have our width. So I'm going to just get this close to the angle that we have and just place that there as a guide for now. But what I'm going to do is set up some guides on angles. So you'll see the ruler doesn't have a way to do that, but there's a way to draw them. And I'm going to go ahead and just grab my line tool, and if you just click on this point here on that path, and then it will snap to the grid there and make that perfect angle for you. So what I like to do then is select that, just hit V to go back to your selection tool, and I like to just drag this out. So again, hold Shift and Option to keep it on the same angle. And what I'm going to do now is just drag that up so that it rests on top of that guide that little square guide that I drew. And if you go to View, Guides, Make Guides, it's they're turned off. But if you go back to Guides, Show Guides, you'll see now that that's a guide, and it's going to be nice because it will help me ensure that this distance is going to be the same as the distance from the top of the letters. So I'm going to just step back a couple of steps just so that right now you'll see that that's invisible, and you can just, over here you have your fill and your stroke. I guess if it's easier just to make sure that you're seeing it, you can actually put a color to it so that you can see it. But what I'm going to do is click it, hold Shift and Option. It's going to make a copy. If you go to Object, Transform, Reflect, make sure it's vertical, hit OK. And actually I should do the same for this just so that I can make sure that it's going to go in the same place. So if you go to Reflect, it's going to just flip it on that axis, and then I'm going to just touch it up against that line there. And if we click and drag this over, make sure we get it lined up there. So now you can select both of these black lines, and if you go to Guides, Make Guides, we are good to go. So now what we can start doing is dragging our letters down to match that. So I like to start with the easier ones first. If you take the I, just grab those two bottom points and just click, click and drag those down, and just, if you hover over that line, your cursor will turn white when it's lined up to that grid, and just let go when you get that point there. Go ahead and do the same with this. Now you just want to select this bottom right side, and see, I move my mouse, but then you have that lined up there. So we got the easy one done. Not too far off, minus adding those little spurs in there. It looks like our eye is pretty dang close to being done, but we have some work ahead of us because we have to get these curves and these angles to match it. So if you, Command : will actually turn these on and off. But yeah, keep those on, and again, let's just start with the bottom of the W and just make sure all those points are selected. And if you grab one and just drag it down so that that lines up. And from there, this curve is pretty set. We're going to have to go back and adjust these curves because you'll see in a minute it's going to start to look weird. But if we take our direct selection tool again, go ahead and leave these points alone right here because those are pretty set for now. So let's just grab these ones to the right. And I'm going to go ahead and just work from now. I'm going to go all the way to the right and then work back towards the middle. So if you grab this point, click and drag it down. See how those angles are all weird? We definitely don't want that, but it's okay. So just click and drag that down, and we have that angle down now. So now we just need to do some adjusting to get the bottom of this W looking like it did. And again, I'm just going to draw a guide so that I get that bottom width correct. I'm going to go ahead and just use a different color so that you can see it. And I'm going to just drag this to this line again. So it's not perfectly at the right angle, but it's okay because we just want to get the bottom of the W close to that. So I'm going to make this a guide, and Command 5 will turn stuff into a guide as well. It's a little bit easier, but just to show you so that I'm not running too fast, if you go to View, Guides, Make Guide, I can't right now because I just made it one, but if you click there, that's how you'll get this to turn into a guide. So I'm going to grab my direct selection tool again, and we are just going to click and drag these up so that they are on that line. So meant to actually grab both of these just so that their proportions stay right. We'll have to adjust them a little bit, but we'll get in there. That is, so a good way to get this angle right is you can see this handle comes, it's a perfect horizontal angle. We want to drag this down actually to match the angle that we have, and it's going to make our curve look a little weird, but you just have to play with the handles and adjust it so that it looks right. So you know, whether or not you grab this anchor and pull it down a little bit, that's actually going to help. So mess with the anchors and the handles as well. But just a good rule of thumb is how that handle was coming straight across. Just if you drag it down to here, it's going to help that curve look right. And same for this. If you see this handle, it's coming straight out. I'm actually going to just drag that up. And if you hold shift while you drag these, it's going to keep them exactly in the same place. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this down to here, and I'm going to adjust this. Oops. I'm going to adjust this anchor, do the same that I did, and you know that curve looks pretty good. So we have two curves that are right. This curve we still got to work with. I'm going to select this anchor, and you see, just go ahead and drag that handle up so that it matches that line. And this, if you just see how that was at a random angle, if you click and drag or click and hold shift, it's going to line it up for us. And just, you know, play around with those until, and I'm going to turn my guides off just so I can ensure that my curves are looking good. This one looks okay. This one could maybe go up a little, and then just drag this handle down a little bit more. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So coming back to this, see, I really messed this up when I dragged this down, but if you grab, we have this guide. I should have actually had it go all the way across, but what I'm going to do is actually go into guides, and I'm going to unlock the guide, and I'm going to select these edges of the guide. Oh, I'm just going to move this whole box. This will suffice. And then go back to view guides, lock guide. And so now we won't worry about having to move that. But we can just grab these anchor points here and hold shift, bring them up so that the bottom of that curve is, well, I'm going to step back, I hit an arrow. We're just going to click and drag that up so that it is lined up on that edge. So let's go ahead and do the same with this top curve. Well, I still had those other ones selected. If you do that, just click off, just select the ones that you want. Again, hold shift to get both of them, and I do not know why that is happening. Grab those, hold shift, there we go, and just get it lined up. So let's start here. We're going to do the same thing and drag this handle down to match that angle. We're going to bring this down a little bit, and that looks pretty good. So let's do this top one. Again, just going to grab that. I'm also going to grab this top anchor and pull it up a little bit, and then I'm going to drag this handle down. So it's starting to shape up. We have this last little curve to deal with, but you guys get the idea. It's going to be the same thing. So this is where you have to be careful about your guides. If I don't have that perfectly lined up, just remember what guide we're working on. And I'm going with this top guide, so I'm just going to click this and drag it down so that that is lined up on that guide. So from there, just grab this handle, bring it up to here, and I might just drag this up a little bit. Oh, accidentally moved it. I'm going to just grab this handle and pull it down just a little bit. So you'll see this handle, if you drag it where the curve goes past that, you know, it's going to look weird. It's going to kind of bow back in right there, just to show you, to exaggerate what I'm talking about. Now you'll really see how that curve starts to look funny. So just be careful of where you're dragging your handles and how far that changes the curve, just to ensure that it looks like a smooth curve. Keep the curve on the inside of that handle. But it will turn our guides off, come back and look at this, and you know, it looks pretty good. I like where it's at. Now we just have to do the same thing with the E. And what I did on the E is actually ended up moving that crossbar down a little bit, not as high as it is here, because you just have to think the letter is going to be taller now. So I'll just start with the bottom, get this down to here, just to get an appropriate look at how tall this letter is going to be. And to move this crossbar down, just again use your white arrow, the direct select. Select the points that we want to drag down. We don't want to drag these curves down, so just select the points that are associated with the curves of the crossbar and the crossbar itself, and just start nudging it down, hit the arrows down. And it looks like I had the Y exactly the same as that. So that's something we can adjust later, but this looks pretty good right about there. And now let's just finish out the bottom of this and get it to fit this angle. I'm going to just click and drag those again. You know, don't be worried about that being all messed up. What I'm going to do again is just I'm going to come up here and unlock my guides. I'm going to bring this over here, and I'm going to go to Object, Transform, Reflect, and that's the right angle for us. And just put that there so we know what we're working with and where we want those lines to be. So I'm going to go ahead and lock that again, and let's grab these and just work on those curves like we did on the W. You can see this isn't close either, so just nudge that until it's right where you want it. And we just have some work to do to shape these curves up. Do that, and then let's go ahead and just pull this down, get that curve looking a little bit better so it's not so wonky. And we're going to do the same with this. I'm going to just click and drag this down just to give it a nicer curve. So that E is looking pretty good. Now we just have the Y, and we'll come back to the L. So what I did is I had part of the L be this containing shape, same with the Y. You know, and just having the E nestled in there. I like just that break and how it's symmetrical, and this L is directly in the center, so why not have it break and be part of this outer containing shape? I think it's fun. It's a nice way of just using that shape to its advantage or to your advantage, and yeah, I think it helps out all in all. And let's go ahead and just work on. Well, we'll go to the Y first. Sorry, I can't make up my mind on what I want to do, but I'm gonna grab everything but the top points on this. First, I'm gonna drag down a guide at the bottom of this E, turn the guides back on, and that way I know where to stop with these points, so that the center of the Y is exactly the same as the center of the E. So grab all those bottom points. I'm gonna just click these so it will snap to this guide. But if you click that, hold Shift while you drag it down. We're good. We have our Y set where we want to set. So now we just have to worry about this bottom, and it's part of this. So what I'm going to do is just drag it down here, and one thing what I'm going to do is actually just copy this shape so that I have that outer shape, and now I'm going to dismantle this outer shape and add it to the letters, but then I have this saved so that we can come back to it and just put it over the shapes so it fits all together. I'm just going to take a look at this again to see where I made that cut. It's the same. I tried to keep those distances the same as the gap between the shape and the letter. So I'll just draw this again as a guide. Oh, make sure I'll get it the same. I'm going to move this down here, and that gap occurred just to the right of where this E ended. So what I'm going to do now is for the time being, I'm just going to drag this down. I'm going to select my Y with my selection tool, the black tool. Select this little guide, hold shift so that you have both of them, and select this outer shape. And I am going to come over here to the Pathfinder palette, and I am going to hit divide. And what you want to do is come to object ungroup, and now you'll see wherever those lines intersected, it split up the shape. So I can delete these because that's the gap that we want. And I can delete that too. Actually, stepping back, just because I didn't think of this, I had the gap on the right side of the Y as well. So I'm just gonna make a copy of this, drag it over. And one thing, just to make sure you get them to line up, I like to draw guides, and then if I click off this, grab this anchor point, hold it right to that, it's going to intersect, so that ensures I'm not overlapping this. And then if I divide it, you'll leave a little sliver of this Y, and we don't want to do that. So again, select the Y, these two guides that I drew, and this outer shape, hit divide, go ahead and ungroup it, and then let's go ahead and delete those shapes that we don't need. So now what we want to do is have this end up turning into the bottom part of that Y, and you'll see the only thing that's missing, we don't have that curve there that it has here. So it's easy to fix. I'll go ahead and show you how to do that. And you'll see too, when you divide, it will leave a negative shape inside. So one way to know if you're doing that is to hit Command Y, and it will show you all your lines, your paths, and you just can click that and delete it. It's not going to change anything. Go back Command Y, and you'll see it's just like an invisible line that was there. And what we're going to do now is actually make this pink and this Y. There's three shapes. This got cut too by that line, so we're just going to select all of these. We want it to be one shape. So if you come over here and hit Unite, it's going to turn it all back into one shape, and that's what we want. So now we just need to add a little curve here. And what we're going to do is we're going to you're going to go over here to your pen tool, and if you hold it and you come down to the add anchor point, the little plus, that means if you just hit the plus sign on your keyboard, it will give you this tool, and it allows you to add additional anchor points to your letter. And what I'm going to do is just draw a guide to there so that I want to put an anchor point there. And see, that's a little bit further away, so just draw this so that it's close to the same distance as this point to here as it is from this point to here. And it looks like close enough. I'm a little off, so I'm going to go ahead and plot that point there, and that one is already good there. So if you hit the minus sign, it will delete anchor points for you, and that's what you're going to want to do, is just use the minus sign, hit that negative anchor. It's a delete anchor point tool. Just click that. You see we already have part of our curve going for us, and just to fix that, typically draw or pull your handles out so that they go halfway, and see how you can easily change this. Just keep it so that that inner handle, when you drag this out, is lined up on the angle that it is and that it's set at. And if you draw this about halfway between, it's a good starting point. And see, this doesn't have a handle, so what we're going to do is hit P for your pen tool, and then hover over this. It will say anchor for you when you're hovered over it, and if you hit Option, it will give you this little tool, and you can also come over to here to convert convert anchor point tool. And if you hit that, you can click and draw anchors now and see how this is going the opposite way of what we want it to do. Just, go back up with it. And then just hold shift to ensure that it's just straight, and keep drawing up until you have a good looking curve, and just let go, and it should be good. We have that curved Y, and the inner part of this one is also curved, so that's one thing that we can adjust. Pretty simple. You do the same thing, grab your hit plus sign and do the plus tool, and this isn't going to be as big as a curve because we want it to feel like it fits, so it's going to be an interior curve, whereas you see this is a way smaller curve than this outer curve. We're going to plot our plus points quite a bit closer than we did, and then go ahead and hit the minus tool. Again, you just find that up here. Go ahead and delete that, and we're going to have to do the same thing with just drawing our handle out a little bit, and just make sure that we don't change that angle. And you hit the pen tool and hold option, and it will convert that for you. And you're just going to want to hold shift, draw this out, pull that handle down so that you have a nice little curve to match the interior angle of that. So looks like our Y is done, and we just need to work with our L. So you see this outer shape got pulled above when we divided the shape over here. So what we're going to do is just select this L, come to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. It's going to pull it on top for you so that you can see what you're working with again. And so we want to do something similar to where this bottom part, at least to here, is where our L is going to be. So I'm just going to drag these points so that they're close to filling the same shape, and I'm going to bring these ones down so that they line up. Hold shift again so that your angles, or so your lines don't shift, and we're going to bring both of these down. We'll just bring it up so that it's close, hold shift, and go ahead and get this so that it's there. And what we're going to do is take the same distance here, draw just a little guide, and if you hold option while you click and drag this, it will just bring it out for you on both sides versus just the bottom side. And let's go ahead and come over here. I'm going to grab this anchor point and just make sure that it lines up. We're going to do the same thing where we divide and get these shapes to work together. So we'll select that outer shape, select this guide and the L. And what we're going to do is hit divide. Oh, I hit the wrong one. We're going to hit divide right here, and then go ahead and ungroup those again. It automatically groups them for you. And then let's just start deleting the little shapes that we don't need. Well, that happened because this ended up not coming down all the way, so it didn't divide that. So I'm going to just take this and bring it down. Just click and make sure that those intersect. Let's try that again. So let's select this L and this pink shape and hit divide. Go ahead and ungroup, and let's see if that worked. It didn't. It may because what I'm going to do is just click and drag these down so that they overlap a little bit. And if we take this again and divide it, go ahead and ungroup again. Sorry, a little hang up here. Click those, and don't delete that one because we want to keep it, but what you can do now is delete these little slivers because we knew we drug those down beyond it, so we don't want that anyway. But we still have these little angles that need some work, but what we're going to do is combine these first. So I'm just going to, again, we're going to have, oh, I thought we had a negative space. I must have deleted it. grab these and come over here and unite. So, oh, it got deleted. I need to, or not deleted, it got, I didn't select this top part when I divided it. It separated them. But make sure that you just always have all the pieces that you want to combine selected and then hit the unite button and it will make it one shape for you. So we're getting close. We just have to fix these angles. And I don't have that guide drawn, so you just want to be careful. Make sure that you're not too far off from that angle. Drag that down. And we're going to want to do the same there. Just make sure that it's all within the same angle. So that is pretty close. What we can do now is go ahead and just make this black, and I just have it selected, and I like to use the eyedropper tool. So if you select that and hit I and just sample from the other letter, it's going to ensure that those are all the same color. So that's pretty much just how I like to just alter my letters, click and drag them down. Just make sure that your angles aren't doing weird stuff, because they definitely can start to get funky and not look correct. So that's that's just part of the territory it comes with it, and it's something to be concerned about. And you can always refine later, but I like to get it at least at a good point, and then continue to work with my letters, and then I'll come back and revise things if I see them looking weird. But let's go ahead and now get brewing to fit across this bottom shape for us. So just so it starts to get a little confusing with all these guides. So what I'll do sometimes is just select it and move it to a new place where it's clean and it's free of guides, because sometimes it just starts to bother me. It gets a little messy for my liking. But what I'm going to do is actually just draw some guides out to the edges, so we have a framework to work within. And I'm just going to draw a little shape here so we know what that distance is, and instead of having to draw the shape and twist the square, I'm just going to that's actually, just forget what I said. What we're going to do is take the line tool right there, the line segment tool, and we're going to just click at a point here and come down here so that we have this angle. Drag it out now, Shift Option. Go ahead and copy and paste this. Command C, I like to paste in front, so Command F, and then do Object, Transform, Reflect. That's okay. Go ahead and do that, and see the other one's still there. It's just invisible, so that's tricky sometimes. Just make sure you know if it's set that way. But have both of those drawn now, and I'm going to copy them again and paste in front, and just move them down so that this distance is similar. And what you can do is you can draw a little shape like I previously did where I messed up, come back, place it down here just so that you know it's the exact same height. For now, this is close enough because we can always get those letters in there and bump them up or bump them down. That's not a problem, but that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and select all of those lines that I just drew, hit Command 5 to turn them into guides, and what we're going to do now is get the type for brewing, and let's go ahead and type that out. So you'll see this N is a bit different than what we had up here. So I took from a similar typeface called Liquor Store and stole the N from that. So I feel like it reads a little bit easier, but these are similar typefaces, so I don't have any issues kind of switching some letters around. And go ahead and do type create outlines. I'm going to do the same with this, and I'm going to go ahead and just ungroup them. So let's do object ungroup. Same with this. I'm going to just delete that N and get this one up in there. You'll see that it is a little bit smaller, but you can just click it and drag it out, make it bigger. Hold shift to keep it proportioned. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of those. You'll see I made some changes, made the R a little bit skinnier. I put a notch in the B on the other one, just because it's kind of just a little bit weird. It's a weird B, so I think just having that little curve come in there is helpful. But one thing that we know is we want this to be the width of Wiley and that outer shape. So if you just drag this edge without holding Option and hold Shift but not Option, and then it will drag down the left side of it, and we'll just line them up on those guides that we drew. So it's looking good. From the final logo, we realized that the W is the exact center of the logo, and it is not here. You'll see the spacing is kind of off here anyways, but one thing I'm going to do is just click and drag these letters out a little bit for now. We're going to get this W in place. And you can see that it is the shortest of all the letters. Everything else is taller. So I'm just going to move it up so that it's similar. And again, this isn't going to be exactly the same as that since I'm going through this again. But get it similar, and what we're going to do then from there is adjust the rest of our letters so that they fill the shape on both the left and the right. And you'll see that the eyes, the eye in the other logo had those little serifs on it, so I'm going to draw those on this just to give that eye some width. These are things that we can change to if it needs to be wider or if it needs to be a little bit skinnier if it starts to look weird. But if you drag this, just make sure that those are adjusted. I'm going to go ahead and just come back to my Pathfinder and unite those and make those a solid shape. So we know, I usually like to work from center and then place a left and a right point and then just fill the space from within there. But let's go ahead and draw a guide to the bottom of this letter. We want that to be the baseline for all of our letters, so I'm going to drag them up until they're on it. And it'll take some play for sure. You'll just have to mess around with the letters. And that's going to be a pretty low crossbar on the G, so what I did is I drug that up to about halfway on that. So I'm just going to draw a guide down to about that, about there, and I'm just going to click and drag these up, get the top of that G to go there. Now I'm just going to click and drag the top up to here, and this is going to see that looks just a little bit lower than the other one, probably because I may have my baseline a little bit lower than the other one, but just get it to where it starts to look good. And for now, don't worry about those. Let's just get the letter heights close to where they need to be. And so with this N, just if you start to drag parts of letters up to where they need to be and it starts to look weird, realize that you maybe forgot a point, and come back and grab that point and then drag it up just to see how it looks. And you'll see it looks it's a little bit narrow, so you can just adjust those things. There's 2 points there, but you get those and just start to drag those down so that this starts to be similar weight to what it was. And I'm going to do the same over here, up a little bit more. And that's close. It could still go up a little bit more. But these are things to just be aware of when you're adjusting your letters. Just don't click and drag them and form them to the shape that they need to be, because it will start to look, weird again. Like, you can just start to really screw up letters if you just click and drag. So doing it a little bit slower and more methodically is going to be helpful in the long run. So let's turn those guides back on, get these letters up, and you'll see those extra points there. If you don't like those, because when you start to click and drag, you're going to have to adjust each of those. I like to just hit the minus tool. Sorry about the squeaky voice too, but hit that minus tool and get rid of those. It's just sometimes nice to have less points to deal with. And we're going to come over here, do the same with these letters, get that B in there, and let's just go ahead and work on that interior, or getting that curve in there. And one thing I do to help with that is just to draw a circle. And then what we're going to do is click and drag that, hold Shift Option to duplicate it, and just get it so that it intersects right there so that they're perfectly lined up. And go ahead and do the same going down with both of them, and select all 4 of those. If you hit K, it will come over here to your live paint bucket, and it's going to allow me to fill this shape. So just for the sake of seeing it, I'm going to fill it with a different color. You'll see now that you have to expand this. If you come to, and you just hit expand, do ungroup, go ahead and delete those outer shapes. And I know this looks weird, but it will make sense in a second. So what we're going to do, one thing I always like to do just to ensure I'm putting it perfectly centered, draw a square there, and you'll see it. If you draw a square, hit M, to come right here to your rectangle tool, and then you can draw those so that they, so it's the exact, same as the crossbar on the B. And then I'm going to grab, there's already one there, but yeah, you're going to grab a guide and drag it down here to the center, and then that way it's exactly the center. So if you grab this tool on the anchor, that little arrow will turn white, and you're perfectly lined up. Click and drag it over, see it's intersecting on that line. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. If you take this, select the B as well, select both of those, and you come over here to trim. You can hit divide as well, but hit trim. It's going to separate those shapes. And then come down to ungroup and go ahead and delete that. One thing, if you select your B, Command 3 will hide it. You can go to Object, Hide as well, but you'll see the interior of the B. When I hit hit trim, it left those there. So go ahead and delete those, and then come back up to Edit, Show All. That will unhide it, and then that way when you select this, you just have your standard B. You don't have an unfilled shape in there that confuses it and would give you a question mark here. It's always nice just to keep working in the color that you want. Don't have unused objects in there. So yeah, it looks like this I could be a little bit wider, but what we're gonna have to do is adjust this E a little bit. Let's make it a little narrower. I think the R was quite a bit narrower too, as well as the B. So that's one thing you just have to worry about with unbalanced words. Just to make them balanced, sometimes you have to just kind of fudge the letters a little bit, just so long as they don't start to look really weird. You're gonna be okay. So just scooting this down. It's already altered enough anyways to where changing these things slightly isn't gonna be a big deal. But select the right side of this. Let's make it a little bit more narrow too, and see this. I overlap those 2 points. It's something we can come back to and change. But I want to keep making that just a little bit more narrow. These, I'm just gonna click and drag those together. You can see, well, I meant to grab this anchor. Let's go ahead and drag it so that it's at that angle, and I'm gonna hold Shift on this to adjust this. It's gonna try and, too far. I'm gonna try and center that out just a little bit more, and I'm going to go ahead and do that, just to help fix what I messed up there a little bit. Now, it may look like I went a little bit too far, because we have a little bit more space in all of those letters, in between all those letters, than we do over here. But I don't want to spend too much time on those details. Those are things that you guys can end up working out, but what I'm going to end up doing is just, I'll finish brewing here for you, but then you get the idea. I did the same thing with the CO. I just set my line on the bottom and just, did the same thing. I dragged those points along until I get the corners and the lines just to fit on all my guides. And then I came back in the end and took the shape and made this outer shape for it, but I'll show us up to that point. But I'm going to go ahead and just finish these letters real quick, and then I think that at least gets you guys at a good point to start altering some letters and having fun with changing things up just a little bit. What I'll do is I have a few more examples in this video that I'm going to show you, just some different techniques so that you guys can try new things, try other things. So I'll keep working on this just to kind of show a little bit more of what I'm doing. Let's go ahead and grab those close to that halfway point. It's good. So see how I'm dragging the whole shape up with it. Let's go ahead and just grab our direct selection tool, and let's just take that back down to where it was, just so that that letter doesn't start to look weird. Do the same here. I guess we have this, we'll go as a center point here so that the bottom lines up with that G. Keep working on these. Just trying to remember the R was higher than the E. The E is going to have to stay down where it's at because it's kind of out of real estate. Doesn't have. See how that moved up that bottom corner? Just grab these interior ones. I don't need to have that outer. When I drag through that outer line, it will sometimes catch a point and carry it up. So yeah, we'll go up there. Now we can start taking these points down to where they need to be. And I just grab those and just get those close. Again, what I'm going to do is just take my line segment tool, draw a line there, and I'm just going to scoot it down so that it is proportional to these sides. And I'm going to go ahead and just make guide there, and then that way I have a guide to work off of. But I'm going to drag that up, take this point up as well, do the same here, sit down, and just play around with these corners, make sure that they look good. That's you can do that there, and we're starting to get these shapes to fill where we need them to be, and I'm gonna just keep doing the same here. So I'm gonna want to just do another guide. I should have made it the whole length of this, just because I have the E to worry about too. Let's get that down. Go view guide, make guide, and now we have this interior curve to deal with. But that's just, guides are helpful. I know sometimes it's tedious drawing them all out, but it's going to ensure that your letter forms are proper, and it's going to help them to look better. So I know it's annoying, but it's worth it. Tedious pays off in this industry, so if you just keep at it and work hard at those little things, those details, it's really going to shine in your work in the end. So always keep that in mind. And see, I didn't get that down. Speaking of details, we got these top curves to worry about. If you guys have questions, or I'm running past things too quickly, don't hesitate to reach out to me and post comments in the class, or shoot me an email. I'll be happy to further explain things if I'm going over it too quickly. So yeah, just know that I'm available to. I'm just moving that out to talk to you guys about this stuff, and I definitely don't want to rush over anything. So yeah, please just holler if it's starting to if something's confusing. See, I accidentally highlighted or selected the whole letter, so that's one thing you gotta be careful of. I'm just gonna get that to there. So yeah, if your guides are in place, you can just start to really drag these points around, and you just have a system to what you're working on. So guides are important. Just gonna try and move quickly, because I know this is starting to get tedious, and if you're at this point and you're just wondering when I'm going to get to the outer shape or the next portion of this logo, go ahead and just fast forward to the end, because I don't want you to feel like this is just ultra tedious, because I am kind of just going over the same thing here, but I feel like it's helpful to for people who want to keep seeing what I'm doing. I'll just continue to demonstrate, but see, we're starting to get that to fit the shape. Yeah, so yeah, you can always skip ahead too if you want. That's not a problem. But just to be fair, I want to walk through this and get it all done. So one thing I'm going to do right now, whoops, it's not that, go ahead and delete that, is I want there to be a curve here. So I'm going to, cap lock set, that's what is, draw myself a curve, and I'm going to go ahead and just click there so it intersects on the guide that I want. Same, just come straight across, don't hold shift. You could, I guess, but if you just click there, see how that's just a little bit higher? It's probably because this W is not perfectly centered with that, but it's something we can mess around with for sure if you feel uncomfortable about it. But just draw it so that that curve looks like it matches the upper curve. And just connect this shape back, and what I'm going to do is select that shape. I accidentally double clicked it, but if you hit this arrow, I'll back out for you. Click on this and the W, and go ahead and hit the divide button. Go ahead and ungroup it, and I'm still within. There we go. Now if it's ungrouped, you can come back and delete the shapes that you don't want to be a part of it. And see, we have that nice little W that comes around the corner, and it feels like it fits. So we just have this other side to do, and I'll rush through. It's going to be a little bit easier because we don't have as many curves. We have the curve in the G, but the curves in the I they're no curves, so it's going to be a little bit easier. You still have to do some adjusting on those points. Yeah, I need to have both of those. See how it looks wonky, but what we're going to do is I'm going to go to View, Guides, unlock them. I'm going to grab this guide and I'm just going to Shift, Option, click and drag it over so that it duplicates it, and I am going to go to Transform, Reflect, and it's going to just get that. It's going to just flip it on the right angle for us, and we just want it to be the same so that this base is the same. And one thing I might do is just draw a little square so that I can come over here and have it be exactly the same, and it looks like it is. So I'm going to go back to View, Guides, Lock Guides, just so that I don't accidentally move those. But now that that's there, I should have done that originally. See, but it's important to place your guides. Just come here and go ahead and just drag these down to where they need to be. And, oops. I like to drag them away because it will snap to the guide. If it's too close sometimes, with holding shift, it will put it on a 45-degree angle that I don't want. But we're going to go ahead and just get these sorted out. See, if you hold shift and go straight up, it makes that wider. I'll let go of shift and just keep it so that this angle stays on top of, its current angle. That way we're not adjusting that. And we'll just take a look at that. That letter looks like the bottom here could potentially go up a little bit just to have that be a little bit thicker to, well, now maybe it looks a little bit too thick, just so that it feels consistent. But we're going to go ahead. I accidentally hit Command P to print, and I didn't want to do that. Let's get this G in order, and I think we're going to be set so that you guys are in a place to start manipulating your own letters. So you'll see that guide doesn't come out long enough, so I'm struggling with my guides today, but if you come here and unlock it and just grab the tail end of this, you can click and drag it, but just if you look down at the eye, just keep it so that it's lined up there. And now that's in a good place, so just go back and lock it. And then now we know where these curves can go. See, that looked like it was in a little bit, so I'm gonna just drag it out so that it, one thing you can do too is just drag a guide here, and then we know that's perfectly up and down. I'm gonna just drag that back up to there. Just get this and draw it down, so see that curve's not coming above. See, it's a pretty shallow curve, so what I might do is just bring this one in so that that curve looks a little bit better. We just have this top one to worry about here. Same for this. Let's just go ahead and bring this up and make this a better looking curve. And you'll just have to play around with the curves a little bit. You'll start to get a feel for it. And see what you like and what looks good. But there you go, you have brewing now that fits nicely underneath that shape. And like I said, I'm not going to walk you through the CO, but what I will do is in another video that I'm going to do, I'll come back and do finishing techniques and stuff and show you some of that texture. So that'll at least give you an idea of how to achieve this look. But for now, this is just a good starting point for you guys to start looking at how to manipulate your letters, change them, and just get them to a place that feels, I don't know, where they're bendable and where you can change them and have them fill shapes. So I'll come back and touch on a different example and show some type filling different shapes in a different way, but hopefully this at least puts you guys at a place where you feel comfortable starting to adjust your letters and change your letters, and you know, you don't have to do the same typefaces that I was working in. You can do it with other typefaces, and just try and have them maintain as much integrity as possible and have them be as close to the original letter form as possible. Or if it's a custom font, just, you know, have fun with that. But it's just nice to have them still read as letters, but still be a little bit funky and fill a shape. So I hope that this was helpful for you guys. And like I said, if you have any more questions for me, please post them in the comment section or shoot me an email and let me know. Yeah, what you thought of this and if it's all making sense. But thank you guys, and I'll move on to another example here in a bit.